The U.S. seized 2 oil tankers connected to Venezuelan exports in separate operations on Wednesday, escalating tensions after President Donald Trump ordered the capture and detainment of fallen Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his wife, Cilia Flores. One of the tankers, a Russian-flagged vessel, had been shadowed by a Russian submarine for more than 2 weeks across the Atlantic before U.S. forces captured it, officials said. The operation marked one of the first recent occasions in which the U.S. military has seized a Russian-flagged ship. The tanker, originally named Bella 1, changed its name to Marinera after attempting to escape the American blockade of Venezuela last month. U.S. forces apprehended the vessel early Wednesday as it traveled through waters between Iceland and Scotland. The tanker had initially been heading for Venezuela, but altered its course to avoid U.S. ships, prompting an extended pursuit at sea. In addition, the U.S. announced the seizure of another sanctioned vessel, the MT Sophia, which authorities said was conducting illicit activities in the Caribbean Sea. The Kremlin, a supporter of Maduro, accused the U.S. of violating maritime law by capturing the Marinera. U.S. European Command confirmed that it seized the Marinera for breaching U.S. sanctions. The vessel was seized in the North Atlantic pursuant to a warrant issued by a U.S. federal court after being tracked by USCGC Monroe, the command said in a post on X. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told reporters on Capitol Hill that the tankers were seized to support stabilization efforts in Venezuela. He said interim Venezuelan authorities understand that the only way to move oil, generate revenue, and avoid economic collapse is by cooperating with the United States.
We are in the midst right now and in fact about to execute on a deal to take all the oil. They have oil that is stuck in Venezuela. They can't move it because of our quarantine and because it's sanctioned. We are going to take between 30 and 50 million barrels of oil. We're going to sell it in the marketplace at market rates, not at the discounts Venezuela was getting. That money will then be handled in such a way that we will control how it is dispersed in a way that benefits the Venezuelan people, not corruption, not the regime. So we have a lot of leverage to move on the stabilization front. And we feel very positive that not only will that generate revenue that will be used to the benefit of the Venezuelan people, and we're ensured that that's what the case is, but it also gives us an amount of leverage and influence and control over how this process moves forward. One of those ships that was seized that had oil in the Caribbean, you know what the interim authorities are asking for in Venezuela? They want that oil that was seized to be part of this deal. They understand that the only way they can move oil and generate revenue and not have economic collapse is if they cooperate and work with the United States, and that's what we see are going to happen.
U.S. Southern Command, which oversees military operations in Latin America and the Caribbean, said the MT Sophia, a stateless sanctioned dark fleet motor tanker, was operating in international waters and conducting illicit activities in the Caribbean. The Bella 1 had been sanctioned by the U.S. in 2024 for participating in a shadow fleet of vessels accused of transporting restricted oil. Efforts to seize the tanker began last month near Venezuela, but it initially avoided capture by reversing course. During the chase, the vessel changed its name to Marinera and registered under the Russian flag, even painting the flag on its hull in an apparent attempt to claim protection. Russia formally protested the pursuit and reportedly deployed naval assets, including a submarine, to escort the tanker before the U.S. seizure. The United Kingdom assisted the U.S. in capturing the Marinera, which had traveled from the Caribbean Sea and appeared to be heading toward Russia. UK Defence Secretary John Healey said British involvement fully complied with international law, noting that the vessel had previously violated U.S. sanctions on Iran. In July 2024, when the tanker was still Bella 1, the U.S. sanctioned it for transporting illicit cargo for a company owned by Hezbollah.
Today, the U.S. conducted a military operation to intercept the motor vessel Bella 1 in the North Atlantic on its way to Russia. The UK, at the request of the US, supported this operation as part of global efforts to crack down on sanctions busting and shadow shipping activity. The Bella 1 was falsely flagged. It was falsely flagged and subject to US counter-Iran sanctions. The vessel refused to comply with the US's exercise of its sanctions jurisdiction on the 20th of December, after which the US Coast Guard vessel Monroe pursued the ship across the Atlantic. This is a sanctioned, stateless vessel which carries a long history of nefarious activity and shares close links with both Iran and Russia. Following a request from the US, I authorised the use of UK bases and the deployment of Royal Navy and RAF assets to support the operation, including airborne surveillance and the RFA ship Tide Force. This was a US operation. No UK personnel took part in the boarding.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt described the tanker as a Venezuelan shadow fleet vessel deemed stateless after flying a false flag, and confirmed it was under a judicial order for seizure.
The vessel this morning was seized in the North Atlantic pursuant to a warrant issued by a U.S. federal court after being tracked. And this was a Venezuelan shadow fleet vessel that has transported sanctioned oil. And the United States of America, under this president, is not going to tolerate that.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth emphasized on social media that the blockade of sanctioned and illicit Venezuelan oil remains fully in effect worldwide. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem added that both the MT Sofia and the Marinera were either last docked in Venezuela or en route to it. That's all for now from Global Pulse Unplugged. Stay sharp, stay informed, and we'll see you next time.